the Epic Games Store. If you're one of the 78 million active users, then you may have seen this before. The Epic Games free section of the week, where they give away 1 to 2 games every week. These can include things like starter packs, in-game cosmetics, or subscriptions to things like Discord Nitro. But if you're like me who's been collecting these games for a while, chances are you haven't played more than half of them, or you want to play them, install a bunch, and then never get to half of those. Well, that's why we're starting a new weekly series in which I will put my top 10 least played games on a wheel, we'll spin it for a game, play it for 2, maybe 3 hours, then I'll give my review. So, welcome everyone, my name is LJ, and welcome to Test Out Tuesdays. So this is going to be like a half-scripted video. I mean, I'm sat here at least a week beforehand writing this, or before picking the first game, so... But anyway, each video in this series will include an intro, anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes of gameplay, and then we'll go over things I did or didn't enjoy, what could be better, and lastly, we'll rank it on a tier list. That 20 to 45 minutes may be longer or shorter depending on each game. But we'll keep doing that each week until we hit all of our 287 games, give or take in my Epic library. Quick sidebar, I already know some of these games have issues. Rage 2. But if we do encounter a game with issues, we'll put it into a separate category called To Be Determined. And then maybe in the future we'll come back to it. If there's a fix, if there's some sort of a way to get it running better, we can come back to it. But until then, we're not just going to give it an S tier because we're going to give all these games their fair shot. But back to this week's video. So for the options for this week, we have Zoetti, I think I'm saying that right, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, Yoku's Island Express, World War Z, Windbound, While True, Learn, We Were Here Together, Vornica, Viewfinder, and finally Vampire the Masquerade, Reckoning of New York. We're going to spin, and let's see, what does it land on, and we get Windbound. We're playing Windbound, and alright guys, I don't know. I recorded that beforehand, and because I had to write the script, so I already knew we were going to play. Obviously, I had to download the game. But anyways, let's get into the game. The game starts out with a cutscene. We're making our way across the ocean with what I assume to be our tribe of people from whatever lands we hail from. But in my gameplay, I never got to actually figure out where they're coming from or where they're going. Anyways, we then cut to our main character drifting to the bottom of the sea. As she drifts, her foot hits something hard and then she begins to stand up. As we turn around, we see that we're in some sort of large open room with the floor made of water. We walk into the giant blue portal in front of us and wake up on a small island's beach. We then proceed to collect all the grass on this island before hopping on to our next loot field, but not before crafting some rope and checking out what else we can make. On the next island, we find some rock and I collect all the ones that I can find inside. We also collect some berries and see a couple of the local wildlife. After looting a bit more, I make my way over to a set of stairs in which I find a horn of sorts that transforms into an Ore of the Ancestors, which will aid us in getting across the islands with more ease. We then craft a basic boat and head off towards the tower sitting on the next island. Reaching the next island and climbing to the top of the tower, we collect what's called a Nautilus Key, the first of 3, and with that, I have my new goal. We then make our way over to the next island in which we find this large boy, and then we sneak around him to get some palm fronds. I then climb the tower and collect the next key, and that's pretty much the rest of the gameplay loop for this section. Go to island, get items, go to the next, and so on. And with that being the case, I won't make you guys watch me collect everything on every island. Instead, we'll skip ahead a bit to where I collect the last key. After doing so, I make my way to a big bone, rounded looking arch in the distance. You can't really tell what it is from afar. It almost looks like some sort of giant whale skeleton. But getting closer, we see that there are 3 sets of stairs that are seemingly missing. After placing the Nautilus key in each set of stairs, it opens up and allows us to reach the top. After reaching the top, we place our necklace into a statue of some sort. Doing so transports us to some sort of gallery, and the wall begins to paint itself, concluding the first chapter. We then take our boat through giant Nautilus-infested waters and reach a small shrine where we can get a bow. After that, we make our way around the island and head through another giant blue portal and end up back on the open sea. We then end up near a new island, filled with red top trees and bamboo everywhere. Reaching the base of the next tower, we encounter an enemy called a planestalker, some sort of giant boned cat bull thing. I don't even know what the hell to call this thing. After defeating it and grabbing a couple pieces of loot, we make our way to the next tower, grab the key, and then we're off to the next island. Upon reaching the next island, we see that we can't just unlock the stairs for this one, but in fact that we need an offering of boar meat. But this is where my 2-hour timer had given up. So, after our 2 hours of gameplay, let's get into some of the pros and cons of my test of this game. And remember, I only played for 2 hours, so take my opinions with a grain of salt. Real quick, if you've made it this far into the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It would help out a ton, as well as hitting that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. I also make music, so if you're interested in songs that I make, go ahead and check out my SoundCloud at ILJ777, or if beats are more your thing, I have a beat channel at Produced by No Trust. Of course, each screenshot will be on screen to help find them, as well as a link in the description. So, if they're not there, I forgot, and you'll just have to go back and look at the video and, find them from there. But the names are all there, so you should be able to find them pretty easy. But anyways, back to the video. Starting off in our pros, I loved the art style of this game. It reminded me almost of a Zelda or a Telltale-styled comic-esque game, where it's got the cel-shaded. I wouldn't necessarily call it cel-shaded, but it's got very obvious lines. It's got nice outlining, and I would just say it's almost got like a clay texture pack Minecraft style, or something similar to Pal World, where it's got very smooth, not too detailed of textures. The next thing I really enjoyed was the music. It reminded me of Zelda, specifically Wind Waker. Now, it could have just been the hopping from island to island in a boat, but it gave me almost a Wind Waker, Link on the open sea, and that red dragon kind of vibe. Speaking of exploring, another thing I liked is that each island has different resources, so you can't just, start out the game, get a million sticks and grass and rocks and everything like that, and then go straight to the towers at the end and finish the chapter. The game actually kind of forces you to go from island to island collecting things, so that way you can get, say, the anchor or the bigger boat or the bamboo platform or something like that. It forces you into exploration. But speaking of exploration, let's get into some of my cons for this game. Now, the first thing I didn't like was the way that the boat controls. It's almost like it's fighting against you at sometimes, and I get that, yes, you're a boat in the water, but it almost feels like it almost doesn't want to catch the wind, whether the wind is blowing directly into it, getting stuck on some sort of reef or something on another. This could have been user error. There wasn't many tips in the game to tell me to do anything differently from what I was doing, so as far as I can tell, that's the way the game controls. I'm also not a big fan of the speechless words. It works for title screens or chapter titles or something like that. But when you read a note, such as the ones that appeared in the glowing white orbs, it would make sense to have that be voiced. Even some sort of disembodied voice, seeing as we are getting our knowledge from some sort of glowing orb, it would make sense to have something telling us, talking to us. But no, the only thing we get is this guy getting Spider-Man'd and then reading this text. Now, of course, no dialogue or little dialogue isn't a game killer, but in a game like this that seems like it'll have to do more heavily with text later on, I feel like voice lines are something that could definitely improve the experience. Another thing I wasn't a fan of was the sling's aiming reticle. Now, some of you might be fine with this bow style range meter, it'll go in between some of these dots, it'll go depending on how far of a distance you're trying to shoot it. But for me, it did make hitting shots a bit tough, especially when you kind of just have to guess where it'll land. It doesn't give you any sort of range of how far it actually is, or it doesn't give you an idea of how far range is actually in game, which makes it more realistic to an extent. But when you're playing a game, I prefer not to have to launch 40 or 50 rocks just to get an idea of how far my rock is going to go if I aim it up at different levels. But some people might like the added realism, especially when this game mode starts you off at the first island and chapter every time you die. So if you like real stakes for your save file, then this might be the game for you. Overall for this game, I'd have to give it a C tier. Not bad, not great, just kind of mid. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you think about this game. If you've played it, want to play it, see me turn it into a series, let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe, turn on that bell notification so that way you get notified every time I upload.
You will not regret it.
And if you guys enjoyed this first video, of course this is a bit of a shorter one. This is the first script I'm writing. This is the first time trying a video like this in this sit-down commentary style video. I've messed up at least 50 lines trying to record this. But in the end, we'll get this uploaded, edited and stuff, so, if you guys enjoyed, let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys on the next Tuesday to test another game. I can't be wasting time.